Okay, this is another story from my grandfather. He told me when I was a kid. We used to always go to McDonald's and we would go to play golf beforehand, and then we would come back to McDonald's, get a meal, a hamburger and fries, sit in the parking lot. I was about 11 or 10, and every weekend he would tell me a story because I always loved the stories. And I'm not sure how it did started, but he just would tell me stories. So this one is a real true story that he was told by me from his friend Bill, who lived in Oklahoma. So in Oklahoma, his friend grew up in Oklahoma with his family. Now they had a cellar, and of course Oklahoma is famous for tornadoes. Those huge things that wrap around in the clouds that look like, the finger of God. I mean, have you seen Twister? But it's basically, the zone for tornadoes. And back in the day when he was young, it happened a lot there. So he told me a story, and it was true. But he told me like this, and, I'm going to just tell word for word what he told me. And he said that his friend Bill, it was a day that was just like any other day, and it was windy, cloudy, but there was some thunderclouds, but nothing major. And they were like, oh, let's go to the theater and watch a movie. So they go in their car, and I'm not sure if it's like 5 miles out from the town to go to the theater, and they go in there, start watching a movie, and I do not know what movie they watched. I wish I did. Can't really ask that any question, but yeah. So he goes to the theater, watches the movie, and he's enjoying it. And then all of a sudden, the lights come on, and the movie stops. And then on the intercom, or I think actually people down there come out there and say, "Everyone, tornado warning! Go back to your house, get shelter." Because for some reason in this theater there was no basement or shelter, which is odd because this is in Oklahoma. Do you think they would? But or maybe they did. But anyway, he was with his father and his sister and him, and they wanted to get home because the wife was there and the other kids. So they had to drive 5 miles back to the house. Now while they were driving, they saw the tornado forming outside the town, and it was coming towards their house. As they got closer, it was getting closer and closer. And honestly, the things I tell you, this is literally what he told me, and I really don't believe he'd fake this. So he said, this is old school, this is like 1950s, 1940s, a long time ago, that maybe even 1930s, but he said that when they got to the house, the tornado was coming, and they had a shelter. But by the time they got there, it was so close that he couldn't have time to get in the shelter. Now, I'm not sure how close the tornado was by that time, but it was pretty close that they couldn't even go to the shelter. So some of them were in the shelter, but the wife or the daughter or whatever wasn't in it. Something or other happened because they're waiting for them. And so anyway, some get in the shelter, but my grandfather's friend Bill and his dad and his sister, the other sister, were stuck outside. And literally, this is what it was, is that he told me that they got some rope around this big tree. Now, it's not just a regular tree. I'm talking like a tree that is really thick, like, the diameter of like, maybe it was 10 feet wide. I mean, maybe 15 feet wide. A big tree. And it'd been there for like 100 years or plus, probably. And they wrapped a rope, tied it around themselves in a knot. I'm not sure how they did this, but they tied it around themselves and basically braced themselves while this tornado came barreling down the house. And the tornado went right by the house and right by the tree, but they didn't get picked up or anything. Because he never told me that anything happened. Because after that, it went by and it passed and they made it through. But when he told me the story, I was like, is that even possible? He was telling me when I was 10 or 11. And he told me as from his friend, Bill, and honestly, I have to believe that was 100% true. Because back then, you know, you were really, I feel you were truthful. So anyway, that's what happened and they survived. So, you know, that was a crazy story, and honestly, that was pretty insane that they survived that. I always imagined this experience of just like seeing this huge wind coming down, and you know, like, was it an F3? Was it an F2? I don't know, but it must have been decent. I'm gonna guess that it was like 100 miles per hour type of tornado, because if it was any more than that, I feel like they would have got swept up, even with tied up to the tree. But anyway, that is another story that my grandpa told me, and I wanted to tell you because, you know, I'm wanted to tell you before I went to bed. So enjoy the story. I'm gonna tell you more. I just thought I'd do it, you know, without a script or anything like that. Just like tell you it raw and tell you just word for word that my grandpa told me. So enjoy, and always explore the things you love. So take care.